right now on Morning Drive.
I guess hello world, huh?
I know a lot of people in this room thought I was done, but I'm not.
He's back! Tiger Woods has announced his return to competitive golf, but is it the right time, and what form should we expect? Hear from our doctor and other experts as we prepare for another comeback from the 14-time major champion. Plus, we're live in Atlanta for day 2 of the East Lake Cup. We'll introduce you to the individual champions who were crowned yesterday and bring you a full preview of the match play portion as the best in college golf continue to battle it out. It is Halloween, so we have our travel insider in the house to guide you through the scariest courses in America. And we'll teach you to face your fears over some of the scariest shots in golf.
That was not a cut, that was not a fade, that was a shank.
It's all ahead on Morning Drive this Tuesday, October 31st, 2017.
Happy Halloween from Studio AP. I'm Damon Hack alongside a PGA Tour winner in Robert Dammer. We have Cara Banks, Dr. R. Sapai here ready to detail the comeback of Tiger Woods. What will it look like? And yes, we have Gary Williams and Charlie Reimer in Atlanta ready to preview day 2 of the East Lake Cup. Right now we say good morning to Matt Janella. How are you, Travel Insider?
I'm scared. Woo-hoo-hoo. Happy Halloween. Good morning to you. We're talking scariest golf courses in America, and we're talking about them with you. We're actually looking for some of your feedback. Posted a Twitter poll last night. What is the scariest public accessible golf course in America? We already have some responses. Andrew Finley says, hey, Kiowa, hands down. If the wind is up, Ocean Course is scary. And Kirk says, I just got back from playing Sawgrass and Kiowa same week. That's scary. That's a scary itinerary. Sawgrass is so much tougher than the Ocean Course. Sawgrass is so tough. Damon, it's so spooky, so tough. Back over to you.
So tough, so spooky. What else is happening now? Yeah, the big news yesterday, Tiger Woods stole the headlines announcing his return to competitive golf. November 30th, Albany at the Bahamas, his Hero World Challenge. He underwent that 4th back surgery in April, but little by little been releasing videos of his swing. The 14-time major champ tweeted his announcement, thanking his committee of 1, which is basically him, for picking himself and Daniel Berger to play. He also released the following statement: I'm excited to return to competitive golf at the Hero World Challenge. Albany is the perfect setting. It'll be great to join this outstanding field. I want to thank Pavan Munjal and Hero Motorcorp for their continued support of this tournament and my foundation. I would also like to thank the fans for their unwavering support during my injury. And with that, we hop out of the Golf Advisor phone line and bring in the insider, Tim Roosevelt. Tim, big news yesterday. What's your reaction?
No surprise, honestly, Damon, if you think about it, since he's been cleared by doctors to resume golf activities, word has been coming out of Medalist about his progress, and that was before he started tweeting pictures of himself first chipping and then hitting the driver. And I think what really gave it even more momentum, obviously, was the singer being back. And then in recent weeks, the presence of Joe LaCava, Chris Como being around, it was all trending toward the announcement yesterday, quite honestly, even though on October 17th, when I contacted Steinberg and was reporting about this for Golf Channel, he said nothing more to add, too early to discuss any comeback, taking it slow. Well, obviously, the slow meter has picked up over the last couple of weeks. Ian Baker Finch tweeting about it when he was out at Medalist, giving a description of what Tiger's swing's been like, members talking about him grinding. And the surprise, really, Damon, to me, is more so that after his 4th back surgery and a fairly rigorous, rehab program to get back to this point to play competitive golf again, there's been no problems. That plus the fact that it comes just months after the Memorial Day DUI, and then, of course, in the same week, relative to him pleading guilty to reckless driving here in West Palm Beach. So a lot of stuff heading in this direction, and now basically, we've been here before. Where do we go from here? Is that back going to sustain the rigors of tournament golf? And if it does, then what levels can he get to if he's not there already? Some of the guys I was talking to who are out there, watching him either hit balls or on the golf course, talked about how far he's got his length back, which you wondered if he could hang with guys like Dustin Johnson and Justin Thomas and guys like that who obviously hit the ball a long way. And then now, can his game get to the level where his best is as good as the best of some of these kids that are winning major championships now and dominating the game of golf? So exciting news. It comes on Halloween, of course, which may be somewhat ironic, maybe somewhat not, but it is certainly more of a treat than a trick, especially if it pans out and he can put on a good show down at his golf tournament and then not start limping like he did obviously when we saw it a year ago at the Ryder Cup. Remember how he was favoring his back and you could tell he was not ready to resume the type of golf that we're expected of him. But now, he's walking fine. He's posting pictures of himself, and he's obviously very confident that it's going to be right this time.
Yeah, you also heard his former Stanford teammate Casey Martin yesterday tell Nota Begay how strong he felt when he gave Tiger a hug recently. Tim, we appreciate the insight as always. We know you'll do some more reporting this week for Golf Central and for Morning Drive. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Damon.
All right, that's the insider, Tim Rosefort. Robert Dameron, here we go again. What are your thoughts on what we may see from Tiger at Hero? What should his expectation level be?
His expectation level, I think it would suit him to go in with zero expectation.
Really?
Treat this as practice round. You've got to shake rust off. All these, the swings on Twitter, that means less than nothing, really, when it comes to being a competitive golfer and crossing all those bridges back again. Sure, his swing looks nice, but he's Tiger Woods. He's not, a chop that's never played golf before. Shaking the rust, getting past the mental scar tissue, too, is going to take time, and take time on the course. The obstacles he's overcome with the kind of the public scandals, the chipping yips, obviously the back, too, the possible addiction, the fact that he's 41, he's swinging slower, he can't hit the shots he used to. Is he going to be able to adapt and overcome? Time will tell.
Can he, though? I mean, we've seen Steve Stricker overcome driving yips, Thomas Bjorn, Henrik Stenson, Tom Watson overcome putting yips. Look at Bernhard Langer now as a putter on PGA Tour champions. Can Tiger Woods somehow write an ending the way those great players have been able to do?
Of course he can. He's Tiger Woods. He's great, but he has a lot more issues to overcome than just the yips.
Okay.
Like we said, it is the injury, too. If he goes out and really expects to win early and has that same mentality, that's going to be a tough road for him to swallow, tough pill for him to swallow. And let's say he does play 5-6 tournaments and barely makes the cut, just shaking the rust off. How long does the Tiger Woods that we know, the guy that says second place stinks, tolerate just making cuts? Time will tell.
Great question. The story will continue to follow. Right now, we send it over to Cara.
Yeah, good morning. That is a great question. How long will he tolerate not just winning all the time? But Dr. R, as you mentioned at the top of the show, Damon, with us in studio today. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah.
You spent a bit of time with Tiger recently at the President's Cup. Does it surprise you a month later he is now making his return at the end of November?
It surprises me a little bit because of how quickly he progressed. At the President's Cup, he was telling the whole team that he was hitting 60-yard shots, and that's all it was. And even when he was asked questions, when are you going to hit long irons and stuff, and he said, I don't know. It'll depend entirely on what the team says. But from there, he's gone on hitting drivers, hitting the stinger. I mean, he looks good. And I'm excited that he's back. I think the game so needs him.
Yeah, who isn't? Definitely
it's
a buzz
so good to see him back.
In the golf atmosphere yesterday. And no doubt, probably being part of these Ryder Cup and President's Cup teams as an assistant captain has fueled his desire to maybe get back a little bit quicker. We've all been speaking about the most recent surgery that came in April. Just how big a deal was that surgery to his back?
That was a pretty drastic surgery. By far the biggest and most complicated and complex surgery. If you imagine the bones were compressed and they had to rebuild the height by putting something like a spacer in between. Imagine doing that to your back. That's a big deal. But, Cara, having said that, I like the reference that Damon made. I shook his hand when I met him at the President's Cup. He's got such a strong grip. He is physically extremely fit. He has put in hours in the gym. His rehab program has been immaculate, and he doesn't cut corners on that from what I saw. He did core work, cardio, high interval training exercise. So he's in great shape, and most importantly, I think he's physically able to support the back.
Which is important, right?
Yes,
like
massive, yeah.
Created a way to protect it,
Correct.
perhaps. So
Correct.
you speak about how huge that surgery was. It was really only 7 months ago.
Yes.
And some people advise that you've got to really thoroughly rest for at least 6 months. So it does presumably feel like a bit soon, does it, from a medical standpoint?
It does, but you know, he has really been regimental when it comes to taking advice from his surgeons.
Okay.
So if his surgeon has cleared him, then I think, you know, he's in good hands. But I think a lot of that is a testimony to how much work he's put in behind the scenes to be strong enough to come back. Me and you, we would not be back in 7 weeks hitting a golf ball, no chance. But that's a testimony to how strong this guy is.
He's dedicated himself to it, hasn't he? We were here a year ago. He made another return at the Hero World Challenge last year. He then went on to set an aggressive schedule, traveling partly across the European tour, played in Dubai, of course, had to withdraw there, and ultimately got hurt again.
Yeah.
What could go wrong physically again this time, and how does he prevent a similar situation?
You know, the biggest thing for me would be, you know, back-to-back rounds competitively. If their fatigue sets in, I don't think that's going to be an issue because of how physically fit this guy is. But when your body adjusts and you get tired, that's when technique will change it a little bit, and that's when all the strategy that you put in to protect certain areas will no longer be there. And if the surgery hasn't fully healed, then you could flare the back up. I don't think that's going to be the case here. He's just been too careful with this, and he invested making this decision of such a complex surgery so that he could be in this position. So I think he'll be fine. Funnily enough, he said the hardest thing for him was, even though he'd been doing so much walking on the beach and cardio work, walking with golf shoes was what he said was like, I'm not used to walking in golf shoes.
Right. You know what? I spent a little bit of time walking inside the ropes actually with John Cook when Tiger was assistant captain at the Ryder Cup at Hazeltine last year. And he came over and he said that to us. He said, I'm not used to walking around a golf course, because he goes out and practices in a golf cart the whole time. Simple things like that you forget about. You've got to get used to really getting the miles under your belt.
Walking in golf shoes, yeah.
Yeah, it's not comfortable trainers or sneakers or whatever he might choose. All right, well, great to have you with us. You're going to stick around for another hour or so and give us a little bit more insight into this real recovery that Tiger has made from a big surgery. Let's now, though, get our reaction from the guys on site. They're at Atlanta, ready for the East Lake Cup. Gary Williams has got a few more layers on than Charlie Reimer. That is to be expected. We are experiencing slightly cold temperatures here on the east side of the United States. But good morning, gentlemen.
Morning. 3 layers. Yesterday was 5. Tomorrow I'll just wear a tank top. All right. We heard the psychological from Robert with respect to if his performance is inferior to what we're accustomed to. We just heard the physical from Dr. Ara. Let me ask you this. If it is a successful return to golf, what will it look like?
Gary, I think it'll look very different than the Tiger Woods we've seen throughout his entire career. It's going to have to look like a player that relies more on accuracy than power. I don't think there's any way that Tiger can make a comeback, come out and be a player that tries to hang with a Dustin Johnson, with a Brooks Koepka. I think the idea that he can come out and swing that driver at 125, 123, 127 miles per hour, I don't think that can happen. I think he's going to have to come back and swing the golf club at 115 miles per hour, which is slightly above average for the PGA Tour. Here's the good news for Tiger. Throughout his entire career, he's always played the ball that spins the most. He's wanted to control the ball the most. He's never really pushed with getting a faster golf ball. So I'm telling you, if he has the discipline to stick to swinging the golf club at 115 miles an hour, he'll be able to get a ball that's a little bit faster. He won't be able to hang with Dustin Johnson and Brooks Koepka, but he'll be able to hit it plenty far enough to go out and score. And the other thing I'll tell you is if you look at his stats throughout his entire career, and you know as well as I do, some of the things are going up and down, but I think you could make a really strong argument that from 150 to 225 yards in the fairway, his proximity to the hole has just been phenomenal. So if he can get the ball in the fairway by having some discipline to not go with those younger guys, rely on that phenomenal iron play and get hot with the putter, and stay healthy,
yes,
he might could do some damage, but it will look very different than what we're accustomed to.
You know, he's a very bright man, and I know Damon has used this analogy before. It's kind of like Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan used to be able to take off from the foul line and dunk over people.
Yeah.
And then as he got a little bit older, he became more of a tactician, and he developed a back-down jump shot that was basically indefensible.
Yep, and let me give you one more example.
Yeah.
We had John Smoltz on the other day,
Yes.
Hall of Fame pitcher right here at Atlanta Braves, phenomenal broadcaster. John Smoltz essentially had a Hall of Fame career as a starter, bringing the heat, and he essentially had a second Hall of Fame career coming out of the bullpen with the junk. I think that's what Tiger Woods is going to have to do, that kind of change if he's going to get back and get to winning golf tournaments.
I think John, if he's watching, would not appreciate the term junk. Just breaking stuff.
Yeah. Beautiful junk. How about that, Smoltz, if you're watching?
In the town where he had that Hall of Fame career. Now, what is happening now? Well, we're here for the East Lake Cup. And yesterday they had the individual portion that also represented how the seating was going to be. So let's take a look at some of the highlights. Charlie, let's start with the ladies. Janet Mao from Northwestern from 112 yards on the 17th.
Well, this is a high-quality golf shot from that fairway bunker. She took that a little left of the flag. You can see the spin stopping it. She knew some slope would carry it down towards the hole. These greens are so fast and so firm, Gary. But where that ball ends up, even though it's close to the hole, that's not easy just because of the speed of these greens.
Yeah, and she's got 4 feet for birdie.
Yeah, you just get above it, and it's so hard to start it on line at the soft speed you have to hit it.
Take a look at Olivia Mahaffey. She is from Belfast, Northern Ireland.
Okay, this is a high-quality golf shot. That ball was sitting down in the rough, difficult to judge how it's going to come out. If you don't believe me, check out her reaction. She knows she hit a great golf shot there.
No question. Shot 71 back to Mao, putting for birdie here, and they share the lead on 18.
Yeah, not a bad putt. I mean, that probably had, you know, good 14 inches of break from left to right, one of the toughest putts you'll get.
She shot 71 as well, so Robin Ree, a putt to save par and remain at 2 under par.
Yeah, this ended up being the winning putt for her. She didn't know it at the time. She just knew she didn't want to finish with a bogey. Found out a little bit later that got her the win, and of course she was pretty happy about that.
Yeah, the defending champion in the individual portion, Andrea Lee, needed eagle on the last to tie for the lead.
Boy, this looks so good. I just didn't think that putt had any break in it. Maybe just a touch of grain, got it at the end. Nice effort.
And she won the trophy, and you then took the trophy from her when you interviewed her.
Well, I hadn't held a trophy in a while.
Okay.
Here's a very nice trophy, hefty.
All right, let's take a look at the leaderboard presented by Peter Millar. Robin Ree, she had 2 previous individual titles before yesterday. She's also in the final stage of LPGA qualifying, which will be conducted in December. And she made it very clear to you, Charlie, yesterday that if she gets her card, she's leaving school, right?
Yeah, she didn't have any hesitation when we asked her that question. And I think maybe the coaches are getting prepped for the reality that she might go because she's playing wonderful golf, hasn't finished outside the top 10 this season.
That's a big hit for them going into the spring season, potentially. However, let's take a look at the men's side. We'll start with Grant Hirschman from the University of Oklahoma. Here he is, his second on the 12th.
This is one of the few really good scoring opportunities on this back nine. He's playing from that first cut rough. Ball is sitting up. He knows it's going to spin. He's got a wedge in his hands, and really, really nice there.
Very well done. Spins it back down. He would be a co-leader at that point at 1 under par. The golf course, it was very cool temperatures, playing very difficult. Now, here is Will Gordon, left rough on 17.
Yeah, he's trying to hit a big, giant hook around those trees with the ball sitting down. You really can't hook it enough to get on the green, but you see that settle. Had some problems with the pitch, had this for bogey, and would make double at 17, and you know that didn't sit very well.
Not at all.
With him.
So he had a 1-shot lead. He was at even par. Now here he is, a birdie putt on the closing hole.
Yeah, going through that shadow, dealing with just a tiny bit of grain there, and just didn't quite get it to the cup.
No, he was upset with himself. Clearly, you could tell that. But he would post. So we get back to Hirschman trying to tie the lead.
Yeah, late in the day on low humidity days, this time of year, that moisture gets out of these greens, and I'm going to tell you what, they get really, really difficult.
Now, the last line of defense, Will Gordon had posted. Here's his teammate, and Theo Humphrey clearly not comfortable over that putt.
Yeah, but he did the right thing. Yeah, something didn't feel right, got back in his routine, but he didn't quite get the stroke that he was looking for when he got back in there.
Yeah, so that just peeled off to the right. So Will Gordon is your individual champion, 18-hole competition. He had one prior individual title at the Schinkel Invitational. So there is your leaderboard again, presented by Peter Millar. Will Gordon at even par. The golf course played. It was very demanding. I mean, it was cold when these players got on the golf course. The greens were extremely fast and firm. So even par produces your winner. Now let's go back to these individual winners, and let's start with Robin Rie. I mentioned what she has on the horizon. It's not easy to balance being a student athlete, and knowing that your professional life may begin in about 6 weeks.
Yeah, I actually had a chance to spend a little bit of time with her late yesterday afternoon, and that's what we were talking about. This game at this level requires a ton of focus, and with so much going on in her life, getting that focus is a real challenge. But certainly she's been able to pull that off. As I mentioned, she hasn't finished outside the top 10 this season, so she's playing some wonderful golf right now.
Yeah, and meanwhile, we take a look at some of her highlights. You mentioned her performance. Her form has been outstanding throughout the fall season as we progress and maybe get to the spring, but her spring may be professional golf. Now, with respect to Will Gordon, I mentioned he had the one individual title on his resume. He had a couple of top sixes as we take a look at some of his highlights from yesterday. He was actually in studio with us last week when they were down for the Tavistock, and they played well, finished in a tie for fourth. When you interviewed him, Charlie, I got the sense that he was a little bit subdued, that his focus is on something else.
Yeah, you have the 18 holes of stroke play here, and certainly every player in the field wants to go out and play well and maybe win one of those cool trophies, but they realize that this event is all about team competition.
Correct.
And I think his focus was, hey, you know what, I had a decent round today. I know he didn't like the fact that he made double bogey at 17, but he was already thinking about tomorrow. They want to win the team competition.
Yep.
And more or less that Monday, while it's fun for us to watch the players view it, I think it's just a seeding opportunity. And the other thing is we've seen that the seeds really don't make a whole lot of difference in who wins these golf tournaments. So it ends up being a nice day, a little bit more than a practice round, but not a whole lot more.
No, I think you're exactly right. You talk to his coach, Scott Limbaugh. It's a nice feather to win an individual title, even though it's an 18-hole competition, but he made it very clear they came here to win the team title, and we will preview that in hour 2 of the program. But for now, let's go back to Studio AP and Damon.
All right, G-Dub, that was a beefy first segment. We have a beefy show on this Halloween edition of Morning Drive. We go back to Atlanta. Gary, I know you and Charlie are going to be doing some interviews about the Drew Charter School and the impact they're having on young people in Atlanta. You talked about the match play preview. You're going to speak to Steve Eubanks, an author, on why the top seeds don't perform very well in this competition. And finally, yes, it is Halloween, the scariest golf courses in America that you can play. Matt Janella has a list and also a poll question as well. As we go to break, beautiful scenics provided by a Royal Kaanapali course in Hawaii. The palm trees kind of blowing in the wind. A huge thanks to Royal Kaanapali. I have to go one day. And happy Halloween. Yes, Tiger Woods, he's back. The Stinger. Will this shot will be very scary for his competitors? Coming up in November at the Hero World Challenge. Ooh, back in a bit.